For 4 years, the city of Silver Rock has prospered under our heroes. Wolfgang, the angelic warlock, Asmo, the Sneckman fighter, Danir, the Catman wizard, and Nara, the drow sorceress, as well as their trusted allies on the city's council. Agriculture, economy. The citizens have been happy. But one little ragamuffin is, always out for a bit more adventure, as Wolfgang's son, Elliot, liked to dip from his studies. Following a local adventurer, the now 16-year-old Toby Smith, out to an adventure, he got caught up defending himself from a attack from a local ogre. Moving quickly, Wolfgang and the gang showed up and dispatched the ogre in quick succession, rescuing Wolfgang's son. Wolfgang returned home with his child to make sure that he would learn his lesson. But can Wolfgang bring himself to truly discipline the child? Let's find out as we move forward. Another week has passed, and Danir, we open in your dreamscape. What have you been doing night to night in your dreamscape for the most part?
Danir has been doing a great many things. Whenever Tom is around, he's talking with Tom and trying to learn what he can from him. He's also been keeping an eye on the students of the school. He has learning of the fact that there has been incursions in the dreamscape in the future timeline. He does keep an eye on his students to make sure that, nothing is trying to get at them. Of course, he makes no attempt to stop the nightmares of, Phobos and his ilk from entering the dreams, because that is a natural part of the dreamscape. He is continuously tinker with things, work on things, and try to grow stronger and better figure things out for himself. Probably tonight. Tonight, Danir would probably be watching over the students and keeping an eye on Elliot in his dreams, though not entering.
Do you have a room in your mansion where you would be able to do this, or would you be out in the dreaming itself?
To keep an eye on students, he would probably be out in the dreaming, but I highly expect that he would eventually create a room in the dreaming for that kind of thing.
Some sort of observatory. Yeah, a sort of telescope you can look into, perhaps, that would be able to, as you shift it and turn it and focus it, be able to encroach, spy upon any dream you wish.
I can see that. Given that the tower itself, for the longest time, did have an observatory to it.
The observatory in your dreamatorium, it's as though there is like a dome of stars with a single door, kind of a hatch that would lead downwards. This is the quote-unquote top floor of your dream mansion. And you find yourself under a dome of stars with a telescope at its center.
Could I get you to change the name of that to something else that would sound even better? That's Danir's Mind Palace. Ooh. I don't know. Anyways, sorry, go on.
No worries. The telescope itself sits at its center, and as you focus in on it, you're able to kind of turn, and the dome itself is more of a refractory place where you're able to kind of glance around the dreaming as you will. Not every dream is crystal clear. Some are more guarded to your efforts than others. On on rare occasions are you actually able to glance in on Elliot's dreams themselves, as the boy's energy seems to fluctuate without his control. Sometimes looking into it is almost like you're staring into the sun itself.
The boy is an enigma for sure.
Wolfgang, in the a week hence after saving him from the ogre, would you what would you have done in terms of disciplining Elliot?
Wolfgang.
Asking the real dad questions here.
Yeah, this is the first time in a long time Wolfgang's actually had to be a parent. What would he even think to do? He'd probably think back on when he needed to be disciplined.
Mm-hmm.
And he'd probably just end up doing that and seeing if it stuck. He'd look back to see if Jamat or his father would punish him at all.
Your father wasn't necessarily, like, your father was kind of a hard man, but he wasn't one that was quick to anger. He's kind of like you in a lot of ways, where he was very stoic about how he was feeling, maybe even more so than you are. You've opened yourself up much more to your son than your father did to you. That said, he would almost certainly discipline you by forcing you into more hardcore studies. Like, he would make Jamat observe as you studied your books and write out various reports specifically for him.
Well, he probably wouldn't even have time to hover over him like that.
But Jamat would.
Jamat would, but Elliot is in public schooling, so...
That's true, but we're talking about his home time. You had tutors as a kid, but...
Yeah, I think Elliot would have been for at least a time carefully observed until his studies at home were done, like his homework.
Okay. Just as an example of what your father might have made you do, like, let's say you got a little bit too close to a wild animal. Like, you got, I don't know. You were fascinated by the presence of an actual wolf, and it nipped at you and bit your hand and caused your father and mother to worry about you to the point that that animal could have killed you. Your father probably would have made you study up on the biology of the wolf and figure out the best methods by which to defend yourself and dispatch of the creature.
Wolfgang would be thinking in his mind, is like, oh, is that too harsh though? Ooh.
Am I sending the wrong message?
Am I?
I want you to write me a 2-page dissertation on how to kill ogres, boy.
This wasn't made by AI, right? Artificial magic. Doesn't even stand. Never mind.
Wolfgang would probably go in a bit of a different direction. He'd probably make him like he'd probably try to impart to him the importance of studying and schooling and paying attention to people and listening to your elders.
All right, so you probably would have gone to his teacher and enforced him getting extra homework or an extra assignment from at least one of the courses that he's struggling in.
Probably.
All right. Denier, go ahead and give me an Arcana check with disadvantage.
26.
All right. As you glance upon Elliot's dream, His dream is... it's a very awkward sort of nightmare where he is... it's one of those ones where he's in class and everybody is in kind of like a circle around him staring at him as the teacher's just kind of like standing at the board, wah, 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 pointing at a bunch of gibberish, and he's looking at it as though he doesn't understand. He's having learning-based anxieties right now. As you observe this dream, you hear the house as it kind of like shudders from the knocker down at the front of your dream mansion. Dong, dong, dong.
Denier will phase through the floor as he appears on the ground floor. With a wave of the hand, the door becomes transparent.
Standing on the other side is Ramses Palto. Hello, my friend. Long time no see.
Good evening. He waves a hand and the door opens, and nearby in the foyer would appear a table and a teapot and a couple cups of tea.
Ah, splendid.
Please, come in, sit.
Thank you for the invitation. He steps inside and takes a seat at the table that you offer. Oh, it's been a while.
Indeed.
Looks as though you've expanded the place, it seems.
A bit. Trying to get a feel for better things and, continuously expanding my studies. How have things been with you? I trust that your children are well?
My children? For the most part, yes, though. I fear I've lost the grasp on a few of them. No doubt you've...
Second voice that you mentioned previously.
Yes. It seems to be creeping further and further into some ears. It's unfortunate, and I'm having a very awkward time deciding who it is I can trust and who I can't. It's
Tell
funny.
me, who are some of the ones that you believe that the voices have gotten a hold of? Maybe I can take a look, see if the infiltration is happening in their dreams.
Well, it's some of the newer generation for certain. They've been a bit less keen on the way I try to run things. Many of them get punished, some of them need to be re-educated. But some find their way around and have managed to slip away. I've done my best to make sure none of them have made it to the border, of course, but more and more seem to pop up like this every day. It's funny. Back when I was serving under Archmage Blackwart, I always looked at him as a monster. How he feared my kind. Only recently have I come to truly understand what it means to wear the throne, to sit upon the throne, to wear the crown.
People often fear what they don't understand. They don't understand that the blood that runs in your veins, in my veins, in their veins is a blessing. It's not a curse.
Some of them see it as far more than a blessing. Some of them see it as their right to rule. And I don't know if I'm right to tell them they shouldn't. But I do know that peace is more important in these days.
Rather than the 1,000-year war, I agree.
I know we've disagreed on methodologies in the past, Anir, but you are one who I truly trust. You will tell me, if you believe I am acting rashly. Which is why I have to give you this information. I think someone is seeking some method of multiplanar travel, and I'm not sure to what ends.
Do you know who it is?
Unfortunately, no. There's a list, but it's a large list. Materials went missing from the college in Iceforge. High-level materials. Some restricted purely to the headmaster themselves, but all of these materials, they deal with conjuration and teleportation and extraplanar travel.
Lani, can I roll an intelligence check, given that I've asked the Adventurers Guild to look into Iceforge, and namely the final artifact that I'm after?
Sure, go for it.
See if this is ringing like a bell.
Go for history for this.
That's a 13.
Unfortunately, the information you've been able to uncover, even with Ramsey's help, after Ramsey's coup, a huge chunk of Iceforge just got absolutely rubbled.
Mm-hmm.
And the entrance to such a place and any information about it may have been lost to time. You yourself have not decided to travel over there to try to see if you can uncover anything yourself.
Because I don't want to, like, I've talked to him about getting the rights to, but I haven't gone over there without his explicit permission and risked starting a war.
As it stands, Ramsey sees you as a diplomat. He would pretty much allow you to travel there as you would, but your business in Silver Rock has kept you quite busy. You just have not had the time nor the leave to be able to do so.
Okay.
As you've been setting up a school and making sure that it runs. You're essentially this place's headmaster.
Right.
So leaving would almost be like a dereliction of your duty. Unless you can find somebody to hold over for a time.
Which is one of the things that I included in the list that I gave you, is one of the things that he's been researching, but he's not able to do quite yet.
Yes, it is difficult to find somebody trained enough in working with the Arcane Innate, especially somebody that can be trusted. Mm-hmm. Considering one of the only people that could be trusted to work with the Arcane Innate is currently imprisoned in your city.
Yep, and he is used to working with a completely different kind of Arcane Innate.
And Venariel, skilled as she is in magic, is not much of a teacher. She's much more of a clerk.
Mm-hmm.
She's somebody that knows how to do magic, but is not good at teaching it or ascribing the methodology for teaching it.
Let alone whoever took over the school in Dragon's Rest.
Exactly. That would be another Dragonborn sorcerer, but the Dragonborn sorcerers are quite different from the wild magic sorcerers that are currently popping up from place to place. But yeah, as it stands, you have yet to find any hints of where that entrance might be, and what information could exist there would have either died with the previous headmaster of the school, been burned up with some of the records that happened in the Blitz of that place, or are in the mind of Jimothy Blackward, who is currently imprisoned in Crystal.
Mm-hmm.
As he should be.
I wasn't sure if it was the quote-unquote Thieves Guild that was doing the stealing and things like that, but
Unclear.
Denier would give a bit of a nod. Granted, my duties have me rather busy here, but I wouldn't mind looking into things. seeing if I can uncover a little bit. I've got a, how do you say, I've got a bit of a wider range than I expect you would whenever it comes to the plane of dreams.
Your expertise would be much appreciated, my old friend. I have my children, those that I believe I can trust, looking in on it too as well. But they're having a hard time.
Then perhaps I may need to introduce myself and have a little bit of work behind the scenes at the very least.
I'll see if that can be arranged. Some are still loath to trust anyone not of their own ilk.
The ones that haven't made the choice, I understand.
Yes.
Any kind of information that, if you have a list, I could begin to take a look at it whenever I have the opportunity. Also, the list of the suspects that you have for this, as well as the list of those that you believe may be beginning to fall under the influence. I have heard I have begun to hear the tale of whispers that of something attempting to access the dreams of the arcane innate to try to sway them to their side. I don't know if this is exactly the same case, but it could potentially be. And given that your companion, air quotes, voice has gone silent, that's one less buffer to stop this extra voice.
Out of curiosity, how, as he is witnessing this transgress, how does Denier Prime feel about this relationship?
Prime is conflicted because he knows that Prime is definitely conflicted because this is the same Ramses that turned his back on him, but at the same time, this is not the Ramses that was tossed into the tree, that was tossed into the end and became the bleeding god. So while this Ramses is not trustworthy, this Ramses is not his mortal enemy, how you could say. Because this Ramses did not spend 10 years of his life torturing him every single night. This Ramses is not the one that threatened to take everything from him until he was alone.
So he wouldn't feel any inclination to enforce his will upon this situation at all? Simply observe?
I would say that he would simply observe. Like, he doesn't have the desire to eliminate Ramses, but any Ramses that makes it to the tree, that makes it to his garden, is pretty much kill on sight.
Okay.
As long as this Ramses doesn't make it to the tree, he knows Ramses enough to know that he's not a threat to be taken out quite yet.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure whether he would feel the need to intervene on this conversation or not.
Right. He still has he's watching, but he is extremely conflicted at the moment because of his relationships with the previous Ramses and previous confessions to said Ramses.
The many Ramses of the Paltoverse.
Exactly.
All right.
I will say that he has been thinking a lot about what Palto said in their last conversation before he dropped him. The creation of hell, basically.
Right. I'll see if I can... meanwhile, Ramses just looks back to you, Denier, after sipping from his tea. I'll see about getting what list I can to you, but I'm more here simply to tell you to keep a lookout. Watch your materials. I am doing my best to keep this confined to my own borders, but my reach is limited.
He gives a nod. Understood. I'll make sure that the council knows. I'll also let the Wizzlesteins know, since the Wizzlesteins, my Spire, and Meteornacht and the College of Iceforge are probably the 4 biggest institutions in Marmaria.
Yes.
They all need to be secured.
While informing them, try to keep my name out of it. I know I still hold a number of enemies among their ranks.
Understood. I'll simply say it was a tip that I heard on the wind.
He nods and sips to finish his tea. I do enjoy hot tats, old friend. He sets his empty glass down.
I do wish that we could spend more time, but I understand how busy we both are, though eventually I should make another trip to the north.
You're always welcome.
He stands up and gives a bit of a smile, his arms behind his back, as he plays the proper host.
Does Denier Prime wish to hide his presence?
Yes.
Alright, give me an Arcana check.
Okie doke. Let's see. Pull up Prime sheet. Nat 20, that's a 30.
God damn, he rolled a 19 on the die, so you still beat him. Like, he stands up for a moment, kind of does like a, he kind of like taps the back of his neck for a moment, as if he, like, just kind of like felt like some goosebumps rise.
I got this even, so, Denier can't see it, Dreamwalker can't see it, Palto can't see it, but this standing right behind Ramses is the mask, a porcelain white mask of a long plague doctor's mask with a hood and this hunched over gangly creature slowly tilting its head. And as soon that causes Ramses to have the goosebumps, but as soon as he turns and looks, the figure's gone.
And for just a moment, the skull of his staff, like, actually, no, he would not bring the staff with him to the
No,
dream
he would
plane
not.
with you.
He would not risk.
No, I mean Ramses would not have brought it with him. Denier Prime is guarding that one.
Yes, Denier Prime is guarding future Ramses' staff.
Yeah. Prime Ramses. Bleeding God Ramses.
Yes.
He shakes it off. I guess the tea went to my head very quickly. You have a very strong brew.
Well, I like to think so. Could also be, dream food is always a unique experience to consume.
It is. Well, I wish you luck, my friend.
And you, my friend. Safe travels.
He nods as he slowly begins to hover out the door and then back out into space until he is among oblivion.
Denier stops and thinks for a moment as the door manifests and goes back to full, before he fades away and goes back to the top of his observatory to keep an eye on not only his location, to begin to investigate into Ramses' area, and even keep an eye out for sorcerers that might be in trouble, that might need a hand. Sorcerers that people may not know quite, that know that they're sorcerers yet, that need a guiding hand.
Before you're able to return to your observatory, the what sort of a system would you have to like acknowledge when it's daytime, when it's time for you to wake? Would you have like a bell tower or something?
He would probably have like clocks around that would tell the time of it, or he would probably have like some kind of a bell tower, or one of the many denizens of the tower of the Dream Manor that would let him know what's going on.
I got one. So you have kind of in the center of your main hall what looks to be an hourglass that ticks sand down. But as the sand ticks down, it doesn't lay at a pile at the bottom. It starts to form a bell at the very center of the bottom pyramid of the hourglass itself. And as you look up, that bell forms to full, turns to bronze, and boom, boom.
It looks like it's time to step out of this world and into another. He gives a wave as the hourglass turns back over, and he snaps out of his trance back into the waking world.
You awaken knowing that at the start of a new week, it's time to head to the council meeting.
Denier will walk through the area, basically grab a handful of yum berries, toss them into a cup, and just keep on going.
Wolfgang, it's time for another council meeting. Elliot was very short on words this morning. He seems very tired, having studied later into the night than usual with Jamat over his shoulder, making sure that he got his homework done. But he would still give you a hug on his way off to school. It's been about, like I said, it's been about a week since the incident with the ogre. And while he's been slightly more distant with the discipline that you have given him, he's still your loving son. But he has been behaving throughout this week, which, good. He's been going to his lessons.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wolfgang thinks he'll snap out of it eventually.
But Jamat has prepared you a breakfast to go, as he knows you like to go early for these meetings. And you go walking into the council chambers with a basically kind of like a crepe wrapped around eggs and tomatoes. Eating your little breakfast wrap. And Asmo, you just walk in with a big cup of coffee.
Is he stirring it with a like a little like ding 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 ding?
Yep. And
you're not gonna believe it, Wolfgang. You're not gonna believe it, Wolfgang. You're not gonna believe it.
What am I not going to believe?
You won't believe it. You won't even believe it if I say it.
I've been traveling.
No,
Sorry.
it's gonna blow your mind. It's gonna blow your absolute mind. You won't even believe it. I got a report from one of my. I got a report now. What if I told you that there are drugs in the lower quarter? I can't believe it.
Venariel comes walking in. Shocking, I'm sure, but we'll get to that in the meeting.
You won't believe it. You won't believe it. Anyway, we're drinking coffee, drinking booze, addicts.
And as you go and
zero self-awareness.
And as smoking a cigarette, drinking coffee, fucking
That's
addicts.
really what they're doing. That's what they're doing that. Well, it's not great.
As you walk over to your seat, you set a big plush doll of Nara down where she would be sitting, as she's off scouting the maw right now.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you, don't give me grief for doing this today, by the way. Okay, she has some spells, so she'll know if I didn't do it. Okay, if I didn't do it, she'll know.
She's probably contributing about as much as she would normally in this state, so...
I told you not to say. You know what I have to do now, right?
Covering the doll's ears.
No, I know. I literally have to hold up the doll and just turns its head slowly to me. I know. Turns it back. Put a spell on me, okay? I can't reiterate that enough.
The doll starts moving.
Daenerys! Insight! I'm inciting him.
Incite the doll versus Daenerys Arcana.
No, I incite Daenerys because he's near me and he likes to fuck with me.
All right, okay, then deception, Daenerys. Actually, I guess this would be sleight of hand since you're trying to hide while you're doing this.
Is it? Oh, maybe
5.
5. Okay, Asmo.
What
insight.
do I got? Insight?
Or perception.
Ooh. Oh wait, no. Yay, perception. Jan can shoot. Go! Oh, that's fine.
13. Yeah, you've seen this enough. The doll like turns and looks at you. You immediately turn to the door. There's Daenerys sitting twiddling his fingers, holding a cup of yum berries.
Daenerys gives a little bit of a smirk and wiggles one finger towards Asmo.
The doll caresses the side of your face, Asmo.
Not now, not the meeting. Again! Okay, alright. What?
You feel something bump the side of your knee, Daenerys, as Flix comes walking in. Oh, she won't be joining us again this week, eh? That's a shame. Always more exciting when she's around.
Doll nods, I guess. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do here.
Hopefully she's out there getting us something that we can actually discuss.
Well, they all stand until you sit, Wolfgang. Or at least most of the council does. I don't know about Asmo.
Wolfgang will sit, and he'll scooch his chair in.
At which point, Venariel and Flix will hop into her chair.
Right. Once again, thank you all for coming.
Of course. Always happy to be of service. Good doggy.
And so, what's our first order of business today?
Where would you like to start?
Well, why don't we go down the list, starting with you, Flix? How's our finances looking?
Going quite well. Got the reports in of our agricultural boom. And this quarter seems to be even better than the previous one, which was better than the quarter before that. So if these continue to rise, things are looking quite good for the rest of the year.
That's good. It's good to hear.
Meanwhile, silver production is up. Some of that silver, of course, is going to your Kylum Diaboli, which is putting all the arrowheads and swords and armor to good use, I'm sure.
Yes, indeed.
Meanwhile,
Silver being what it is.
Meanwhile, the silver we're exporting is still bringing in a pretty penny. So, no problems on that front.
I retroactively look back years ago and realize how bad that situation could have gone down. That entire place could have blown up underneath everything. Crazy to think. Crazy to think.
Luckily, it's been well managed.
Not for lack of trying.
Well, that's promising news on the financial front. What about our food? How are we doing in the farming and... Like I said, geez, just farming.
Venariel flips through a few pages. As Miss Flix mentioned, our agriculture is at an all-time high and continuing to grow. We have no lack of food storage anywhere in this territory. We've been able to ship and produce food. Everybody is fed, including the livestock. There actually may be a bit of an obesity epidemic happening amongst our nobility. A few cases of gout popping up here and there. But that is a sign of an affluent society.
I see. Well, we'll probably want to address the obesity problem.
She said gout!
Gout
She's
is,
also said obesity.
gout is typically caused by obesity.
Oh, we gotta move them away from the cheese, then. Clearly that's what's doing it.
It's mostly the yum berries, if I am to be honest. They are produced, and while they are in relative abundance, they fetch a high price due to their demand.
Hmm. Well, so it's the yum berries that are sort of starting to cause a bit of problems when
Only when consumed in excess. They provide a proper nutritional balance for... I mean, they're practically a whole day's worth of meals in one fruit, but when they taste as good as they do, some people can't help themselves.
We may want to limit the amount of yum berries that can be distributed per household.
Perhaps we can increase our export of the fruit.
That would do well in further bolstering our economy as well.
Flix holds up her hand. Seconded.
All right.
If we can develop a long range transportation methods, we could even reach out to the islands to the far south, begin trade negotiations.
That does bring up another point of business, actually. Venariel pulls out an unsealed scroll. I got this from my Uncle Talos. It seems his partner Timry is looking to produce what he is calling... I'm sorry. She scrolls it open a little bit more and just looks further onto it. An arcanomotive.
Arcanomotive?
It is a rail-based transportation system based off the same combustion that your Arcanocycle uses, just on a larger scale.
Rail-based? You mean like a minecart?
Yes, just much larger and able to carry many more things. He was suggesting the project in Dragon's Rest to start, but their financial situation isn't quite as strong as ours. He was wondering if we might be able to
Kickstarted.
test out the system by building a set of rails between here and Amber Glade.
How much does something like that cost?
It's not outside of our budget, but it would eat into our profits, to say the least. How much into our profits exactly? Well, to the point that we probably wouldn't profit for this year, but the long-term gains could... I am not for this! The long-term gains could be far more beneficial, if you would let me finish. Still not for it.
Could be a good first step towards some of the stuff that we saw over in Lone Throne.
Possibly.
You're also talking a lot of labor. You're not just gonna magically put those spikes into the ground and build the rails that way. You're gonna need people.
Bodies.
Exactly. But putting more money into the economy could also help the economy. People do enjoy getting paid for a good day's work. It's an investment in the future of this city, if, of course, it works.
If it works, and if it doesn't, it'll have been a huge waste of money and time and labor.
He is confident in the design, but he does not have a working prototype as of yet.
Well, my cycle is pretty impressive, if that's anything to go by.
Yeah, but how long did it take him to actually be able to make it work?
If anybody wants the actual answer to that, Wolfgang, you could roll intelligence for advantage. And Denier, you actually were the one that delivered the
it
thing,
to him,
so
yeah.
both of you could roll intelligence for advantage if you want the actual answer to that.
13?
I will roll. You said intelligence?
Yeah.
Okie doke. 24.
Wolfgang, you know it was north of a decade or so. Denier, you know it to be exactly 33 years.
We're talking at least, the last time that he tried to be able to make it in order to get the blueprints themselves, it took over 30 years to be able to set the blueprints, but once he got the blueprints, he was able to make it pretty dang fast.
Yes, but he is working off of a working design of the engine itself already. Not to show too much favoritism. I think you're showing plenty of favoritism.
He has been able to do a great many incredible things in the past.
Wolfgang will sort of stroke his chin, and he'll think back to Lona Throned and all of the fabulous technology that they had, and how everybody's life was not idyllic, but
more utopic than now.
Yeah.
On the grow.
That dog's back. Well,
It's outside. I don't know whose it is.
He's just looking up at the window.
I'm just glad that they don't chase me anymore.
No, Nara. Put the Nara. I think the Nara puppet was going after it.
Waving out the window.
we're not going to be making a profit this year if this goes through.
That says our stores are quite flush with gold, and I don't think we'd be operating at a loss unless he has bitten off more than he can chew, which he has done in the past.
Think of it like this. How long does it take for a wagon train to go from here to Amberglade?
About a week, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
A week,
it's a nice,
give or take.
Now,
it's a nice ride. It's just we've done it so many goddamn times.
This will definitely expedite things.
Taz was tired of that run.
With the
not to mention,
with the Arcana motive, it would take half the time. Less than half the time.
And it might give a number of traders. On top of that, not only would it be able to increase the time, no doubt it would be more well defended than an average caravan train. So we could potentially save on guards or have less caravans going through, so they'd be attacked less by trolls, ogres, so on and so forth. And depending on the range of them, it would increase trading and viability a lot more. We could get a lot more of our exports down to like Dragon's Rest or even further.
It may very well set Silver Rock to be the central power for the entire continent.
I could see this becoming a great benefit to us in the future.
But in how much time would it take? That's still the mystery. You might be paying down a debt for something that you won't see returns on for 30, 40 years.
Thought that's what it meant to be in charge.
Perhaps.
If that's the price of progress.
Can we get a discount?
You're talking purely about acquiring raw materials and manpower, so
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
just making sure we're clear on that.
It's either this or what? Let all this gold we have sit burning in our pockets
Or
when we
find
could
other,
actually be doing...
or find other uses for it.
I think I like it. I approve.
I will
That
let.
dog agrees too.
Well, if the dog's in, I'll let Uncle Talos know to let.
That's 3 votes.
Daenerys, get on the damn table. The dog's not gonna break in here, okay?
Daenerys just like on his claws on the ceiling. I'm not coming down.
Very well then. The rest of the votes. I, Venariel, holds up her hand.
Oh, Nara will of course abstain as well because out of spite, I guess. I don't know.
Typical.
Daenerys is clinging from the corner like he did back in Cold Reach. Look, dogs make me nervous.
Very well. I will have my Uncle Timry come up and present his plans himself.
Thank you, Venario. Sorry, Flicks, but I think this could be a great benefit.
It's your
Even though we
city.
may not live to see it.
It's your city, sir. I'm simply here to serve. At your leisure.
And you've done a fair job. Good enough that we're able to do things like this.
I'll make sure that all the gold is where it needs to be.
I appreciate that. Now, what's our next line of business?
Well, we've covered agriculture. This bit of business here with the Arcana... finances. We still have crime to talk about.
Yes. Asma was telling me on the way in that there's been a increase in the amount of drugs showing up in the lower quarters.
I also have some additional information that may prove useful.
Very well, where would you like to begin, Lord Connolly?
Let's start with the lower quarters. What's happening exactly?
Asmo, this is your report.
Well, how would you like to start? I jokingly started before the meeting. Yes.
Well-
So.
At the beginning, preferably.
Well, let's start
the room
small.
is staring at you.
Well, we can't find him, but we believe there's a ring of narcotics dealers. Maybe not bringing the slums, which we have. They exist, technically.
All cities have slums.
I know. It just always sucks. We're having trouble pinning down who this is. Listen, I used to work for some of these drug groups. I know what's happened here. They've gone to ground. It's going to take a while. We'll find a rat eventually. How it works. It's just a matter of setting the right net. That's not my issue right now. That's just part of the course. It's regular maintenance, it feels like. There's always one to put out. There'll be another one eventually. Not to be defeatist, but it's maintenance, right? The problem is, it's anti-sorcerer hate crimes, and they're just on. We can't stem them.
Bloody
It's as bad
hell.
as- it's worse than last time, and I figured you knew that. But this time we actually have a name for them. Of that, they've been bold enough to say it. They call themselves the Hammers of God. I know. The name.
Wolfgang rolls his eyes.
Aside from mostly breaking or defacing property, you know. But the problem is, you know how this escalation works. So one of them tries something, and it's going to be nasty. So I don't want to. No, I think
We've
these
seen
two...
it.
I don't want to believe these two are connected at all, but it won't be shocking if there might be a connection between the two.
So you think these hammers of God are getting funds from a narcotics ring?
I don't even know about that, but if you told me if there was like anything, it's not that they need funds for what they're doing. It's a group of people working in concert to try and let other people know that they should be scared all the time. So they don't need money for that necessarily. That's why it's more of a problem, because I don't think there's any monetary incentive for what they're doing. There's only one: fear. So that one's more of a problem than the drugs, in my opinion. But the drugs need to be taken care of as well. I'm putting Earth on the drugs. I should be on the drugs, to be honest with you, because I've worked in that area before. But this anti-sorcerer hate crime stuff is really... it's crossed a line with me. I mean, it always has, but at what point do I have to go look at a body? I don't want that. I want to minimize that the most I can.
Agreed. Denier, you said you had some insight on this as well.
Not exactly on these.
On the anti-sorcerer hate crime fronts, you've had to call in reports of people harassing students before, mostly drunkards on their way back from a tavern or on their way to a tavern. You've had to call in reports of various defacements and graffiti to the school. Some threats sent in directly, but nothing more than Asmo doesn't already have his ability to, or doesn't already have info on, basically.
For the most part, at least whenever it comes to the school's side view of it, everything that we know about it is what you know about it. It's been drunks, defacement, so on and so forth. I'm considering adding, potentially getting some animate gargoyles or something on the outside of the tower to keep an eye out and potentially defend it if we need. But
those will need to be enchanted very, very precisely. In the early days of the Whistlestein Spire, we had similar issues, and there were more than a few gargoyle-related fatalities, so do try to keep them as non-lethal as possible.
I don't want anybody getting accidentally killed over this. That's the last thing we need.
that is true, because as much as I hate to say it, if one of my sorcerers go down, there's going to be a problem. But I've been coming across some information acquired from some of my intelligence sources. It would appear that the North isn't exactly having a very good time. There's something under the surface starting to affect the sorcerers up there. A whisper on the wind. It's slowly starting to twist the minds of the sorcerers up there.
Do you believe
it's small?
Do you believe it's the bleeding god?
I think it might be something linked with the Jester of Bordeaux. Because as far as I know, the bleeding god has been quiet for a very long time.
Last I checked, so was the Jester. Nobody's heard or seen anything from, was it Fezziwig? Nobody's heard or seen anything from Fezziwig in nearly 5 years now.
But the problem about that is that the way that I understand it, these children, quote unquote children, are made by putting a piece of the crystal into the bodies of a sorcerer. And there is an entity which can go from crystal piece to crystal piece. I believe that we know him as Red. he came to me for a while in Dragon's Rest until I refused to play along with his game, and then he went back to Fezziwig. My concern is that he might be going from person to person, whispering to try to cause chaos up north. And on top of that, my investigations have levied that there has been thieves in the spire of Iceforge. A number of items have been stolen, mostly in conjuration and in planar studies.
Do you have a list
So
of these items? I can have people look into it for you.
As soon as I get the information, I will let you know. We may need to increase security for both the Whistlestein Spire as well as the school in Silver Rock. If they're hitting up there, it's only a matter of time before they come down south.
I guess increasing security would be twofold up here then.
Mm-hmm. It looks like it's all transportation, teleportation, potentially planar travel. It's all conjuration. All the items that have been stolen have been based in conjuration magic.
I'll confer with my family in Dragon's Rest and see if we can have some experts sent over here to consult.
Sounds like a plan. Asmo, with the drugs, exactly what kind of drugs are we looking at?
DM, I need help. What kind of drugs?
I mean, it's a number of different kinds of things. There are various distillations of opium, various. I mean, obviously, there's one of the most sought after narcotics that's very easy to produce is either Yumberry wine or Yumberry moonshine, which still finds its way onto the streets.
A lot of it's derivative of Yumberry, but it's no one drug. It's like just general. It's general. It's just general drugs. And yes, the Yumberries our cup runneth over.
Part of me wonders if we should have gone with Giant's Ambrosia instead of Yumberries.
Well, maybe you should build something underneath all the leaves so it doesn't drop on the ground. People can just pick it up. Anyways. So aside from that, just other drugs and stuff like that. It's just a general drug ring. It's no one drug. So just kind of across the board. And again, fair amount of these berries.
Asmo, when do you want the next training for the troops and for the Kylum set up?
Out of character, is Asmo in charge of the Kylum? Kylum's Wolfgang's thing, yeah?
Yeah, Kylum is Wolfgang's thing. You are the militia and the town guard.
Town guard.
He's generally asking both Wolfgang and Asmo.
Okay.
For the quote-unquote dream training that he's been putting people through.
Just continue with the rotation you've been doing. I'll be honest, there haven't really been any complaints so far.
You've kind of been you've kind of been going monthly with each. The second week of the month is typically for the militia. Third week of the month is for the Kylum, and the fourth week of the month is usually for the town guard.
And I imagine that the militia and the town guard have vastly different training than the Kylum.
Yes. I mean, you try to vary it up a little, but obviously for the town guard, their training is lighter, usually more humanoid-based. Sometimes they'll have to deal with like a wild animal or maybe an ogre or something, but nothing too fantastical. The militia will often face off against some of the more fantastical creatures you've come across, at least some of the more dangerous ones, just in case the army ever has to go up against a wyvern or something. Mm-hmm. And the Kylum pretty much whole hog anything you have ever encountered, the Kylum would need to know about.
So the Kylum are the ones that I don't hold back on.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Like, they are the best of the best.
Of the few, of the proud.
The cream of the crop.
Tommy Lee Jones cutting a promo.
Ooh, yeah.
Wolfgang, just so you know, my next round of training for the Kylum, I'm going to be training some of the male cadets against resisting the temptation of the Claratrix. It might get weird.
They're made to deal with weird, so...
That's kind of their job. Imagine if they complained about it.
And on one other note, Master Pogan wanted me to forward a message from the Kylum, as this is something he would rather not deal with himself, as there is a request from the guide.
I see. Well, let's have it.
He simply states that he wishes to meet with somebody about some Kuwagoth beneath the
I'm sorry, what was that?
Kuwagoth.
A cool. The heck is
Would
that?
I know
What?
Would I know what that is?
Give me... Let's see, this would be... which form of intelligence do you specialize in?
Religion.
Probably not that. This would be nature or... Yeah, it's probably nature with advantage.
Nature with advantage? Alright. That's an 11.
The name rings a bell to you, and you very rarely have to deal with these types of creatures, but you like the only thing that kind of like comes to mind for you is that it is a denizen of the Underdark. You don't know much about it, and you don't like most creatures of the Underdark don't typically make their way up to the surface and become a nuisance for the kind of things that you would normally hunt.
Huh. I've been to those crypts, and they don't go that deep. What's
Well,
a
hold on,
Kuagoth doing there?
Oh, hold on. Under the city. It took us days to get to the bottom of that tunnel system. Who the hell knows what's creeping on down there? We're near the maw, for goodness sake.
And the guide was able to make his way into the crypts from the Underdark.
Yeah. As far as I'm concerned, I have been saying that a lot of these tunnels are massive security problems, and the Durgar, even though they're allies, they're not on top of all of it. Because a lot of them are higher up than even their territory. What they would even consider their sky. Wherever the heck their thing is. I don't know. Don't ever send me there again,
That
by the
reminds
way.
me, are we ever going to work with them to figure out if we can get a hold of their precious glowing metals?
You're not gonna lie. I don't know if I'm the best guy to ask that question.
Yeah, you've got a bit of a bias, and rightfully so.
Just thought I'd ask. They've been fine gem crafters and all that, but anybody who knows that their primary resource is the burning metal.
That is true. It is highly dangerous, however.
I'm not the one that negotiates with them.
I have, Wolfgang, I have picked up something that might make negotiations with them a bit easier if you're the one that has to talk to them.
Tell me.
I've developed a new spell that will allow you to understand and communicate with any creature as long as it shares a language with you.
Huh? Did you make that for Nara?
I specifically made it for Wolfgang.
Yeah, if I recall correctly, Nara's actually one of the few people who could communicate with them.
Nara's head slowly turns towards me.
No.
I could say it, she's not here.
No.
Correction above game. As long as it knows at least one language, it can understand Wolfgang.
Okay.
It doesn't have to share a language.
Cool.
Woohoo!
That's important for the future.
Yep, and that spell is called Tongues.
Tongues.
Love it. Well,
With that, I have no other business to bring up. I will confer with my Uncle Timry and my family in Dragon's Rest to see if we can learn, get more security for the school here.
very good.
Shall we adjourn?
I think we shall.
Nothing else pressing?
Well, the dog's already left, so I think it's time for us to wrap her.
Yep. I hereby call this meeting adjourned.
And with that, everybody stands up and pushes in their chair. Asmo, you collect the Nara doll.
My headcanon is at the end of that, every time Wolfgang just shoots the gun into the ceiling, just BANG! Meeting's over.
Meeting's adjourned. Bang, bang!
Just like that boss fight in DMC4.
and then Venariel just like, and I'll get someone to patch the roof again.
See, that should do.
And as you all make your way out of the chambers, here is where we will take a break. Hey guys, Lani here. I just wanted to thank you for rolling with us. And if you wanted to catch us live, you can do so almost every Monday at 5 o'clock Central Time over on twitch.tv/Lanipator. Now, back to the show. With the council meeting out, you've been... Hi, Oi Guy. You've been requested to go and meet with the guide. You step back out onto the streets. It's another fine day in the city of Silver Rock.
All right. If you'll excuse me, gentlemen. Myself and Nara here have to go talk to Earth.
All right, and Asmo goes to confer with Earth.
Yes. Then I will actually probably write up something here.
No worries.
Just leave you guys to it here. I'm going to write up something for this.
Denier and Wolfgang, you are left to your own devices.
Well, probably better go see to this guide business. What about you?
I'm gonna go with you. If this is something that we might have to deal with, it might as well be that we stick together. Plus, I'm gonna be 100 with you. I don't want you going alone with that guy.
That's fair.
And Denier leans in just a little bit. I'm always on edge whenever it comes to anybody fucking associated with Solomon. There's a reason why I won't mention my parents around Nara or Solomon.
Fair enough. I'm a little wary myself, but as long as he's here, he's not doing Solomon's dirty work.
That's true.
So you guys start to make your way to the graveyard.
Oh yeah.
Indeed.
All right, you march through town. A lot of people greet you on your way. You're very well-known commodities in town. A lot of people smiling, giving their hellos. And as you start to make it past the outskirts of town, going down the quieter trail that leads towards the graveyard. Once again, like, the wind starts to blow, and you just kind of feel that little chill in the air. That unclimatable sort of chill, that feeling of ever-present death. It's just oh so charming when it comes to the graveyard. Everything just seems a little bit dimmer, a little bit less.
I feel like if the camera ever cuts to it, you hear. It's like when you play what's that one map on Halo, the cold one, the really cold one. A big like,
Pretty
cold
much.
breath. Yeah, that's that's what I imagine now.
You feel that chill as you walk towards the graveyard. Any town guard that has to do their patrol out here, Asmo knows at the very least that he's had to schedule it in shifts because almost everybody out here just kind of like leaves the day way more tired than they would have if they were just anywhere else in the city. Just from the sheer absence of energy. This place literally feels like it drains life from people's bodies. It doesn't to a dangerous degree, but it does leave the body feeling tired.
For the Total War fans, there is attrition in this territory.
Exactly. And this is where you put people when they are being punished for punished for transgressions when they have to like do their shift out here for like a week. It's also where you put a lot of newbies, especially because if any of them ever even catch sight of the guide, it sticks with them. But as you approach the graveyard, Wolfgang, you do see a familiar face, clad in a pale silver armor. Her face and her skin pale. You see Gloria just kind of like scrubbing down one of the headstones out front. She stands up as you approach. Lord Connolly, we've been expecting you.
Gloria, good to see you in good health.
Of course. It's a wonderful day out here. How fare you today, sir?
I'm doing quite well. I was told that the guide wanted to see me about a quaggoth.
Yes, he mentioned that some creatures were skittering beneath the surface, and he and I have dispatched a few, mostly him, but he taught me their ways, and I sent them to Mother Death. But it is his story to tell. And she gestures with an open arm towards the crypts as thunder cracks in the distance. Thank you, soundboard. Wow, good timing.
Ooh. I see. Well, I should go down there and see what I can do about it. You haven't spoken with Pogan lately, have you?
He tends to avoid me where possible. His pleadings to return to the light grow tiresome. He doesn't understand that everything requires balance. Death is not so much the absence of life that he believes it to be. It is simply the veil through which life leads. The inevitable journey that we all must make.
Well, you've been on both sides of the equation.
I'm simply attempting to strike the proper balance in my soul.
I believe you can. And he may be old and stubborn and set in his ways, but Hogan cares about you, is all.
She nods. I'm very
He'll come
aware of
around.
his structure of beliefs. I too was once blinded by the light, but when you spend so much time in the light, your eyes have a hard time adjusting to the dark. The guide opened my eyes and made them new. Many of our enemies lurk in that darkness, Lord Connolly. I simply wish to see them better.
Wherever there is light, there must also be shadow. Denier pulls out a coin from his pocket. Two sides of the same coin. You're wise to seek knowledge from both sides. Light, dark, life, death, dreams, nightmares. Both sides, both required. Without one, there can't be the other. And he flips the coin from a pristine face to a long since battle hardened and heavily damaged coin from on the other side.
An interesting perspective. Lord Connolly, if I might inquire, Master Pogan claimed that you had made commune with the Lord of Life himself. Is this true?
There were a few occasions where I got to meet the big man himself.
Were you in his domain? Perhaps not physically, but...
I think so.
Was there any shadow to be found?
It was pretty hard to see at all, if I'm going to be honest. But when my eyes did adjust, it was, as you could probably guess, a lot of light.
She nods. I wonder if her realm is only darkness, or if her realm also holds light. Perhaps her realm is more balanced than his. That is what the guide would tell me. Just something to meditate on.
Suppose we'll all find out eventually. Keep doing what you're doing. And thank you.
Yes,
I'm glad you're safe.
of course, sir. And she goes back to cleaning the headstones.
Wolfgang will descend.
A spit shine?
She has like one of those those big long scrubs that a lot of people might use for grooming a horse.
Ah, okay.
And
yeah,
she's just kind of like scrubbing them with I guess lye and water.
As they descend the stairs, Denier looks over towards Wolfgang. Elliot's been having nightmares as of late. Nothing to the point that I need to step in, but it's typical, normal kid stuff. Just thought you might want to know.
Wolfgang will stop walking when he hears that. Normal kid stuff, huh?
Yeah. And Denier will lean up against a wall. A lot of kids his age get visited by the nightmares. But his, as of late, has been more academic, as they say. There's a lot of common nightmares whenever it comes to school and dreams. Often, a real common one that I've seen a lot is people in class without pants, or them trying to study, but they just can't make out what the teacher's saying. or they forgot something, or what have you. And just Dadir goes over a small list of various school-based nightmares. But
So does that mean he's struggling in school?
less struggling. It's not that he's Lanny. From what I've understood with Elliot's dreams, it's mostly that he's anxious about school, right?
You can go ahead and give me a insight check. This is you trying to read the psychology of a child.
Okay. Insight. 17.
At your best guess, yeah, this does seem to be related to a learning anxiety and a desire to better process information that maybe he's having a trouble keeping a grasp on.
He's got a little bit of anxiety whenever it comes to, at least from what I've been able to see, almost like he has a grasp to better understand the information that he's taking in. From the nightmares that I've been seeing, they've all been him in school looking at the teacher. The teacher is not able, he's not able to understand what the teachers are saying, and everybody in the classroom is staring at him. A lot of the times, the nightmare entities, they're supposed to help you realize what your anxieties are, or give you a way to safely deal with the anxieties that you have in the waking world. It might be that he might not be understanding something in school, or he might be having trouble grasping something at school, and he's desperately wanting to try.
I see.
He's a fascinating kid, and as close as I am to you, I feel myself just as close to him. And I wanted to give you a heads up so that if he's going to be the leader of Silver Rock eventually, I want to give him a good start.
I haven't fought that hard ahead, honestly.
Do you continue walking?
Yeah.
I assume that this is just them walking and talking. And all that.
Wolfgang specifically said that he stopped when you mentioned that.
Eventually he would start walking again.
How clasped behind your backs are your hands, gentlemen?
Denise
Wolf-
definitely got his quarterstaff.
Mm-hmm. This is a garden conversation in Game of Thrones. It feels like, yes, tell me more.
Yes, a lovely garden conversation as you walk through the halls of corpses.
Yeah.
As you make your way through the catacombs, it's very well put together, very well kept. The grounds and walls have actually been smoothed out, and some brickwork has been laid in a lot of these, a lot of the parts. It's no longer just bare dirt on the floor. A lot of the old decorative stone has been polished and swept up. This place is very well kept and just as chilly and perhaps not as creepy as the first time you walked into it, as that time you literally had trouble walking through it. It was so densely creepy. But you can't help but get a few goosebumps as you walk through. Denier, your hair is definitely fluffier than it was. As you finally approach the space that the guide is currently inhabiting. His head kind of shifts You can see like kind of the back of his cloak shift as he turns. He walks with a quarterstaff with a large scythe at the end of it now. Very decorative and ornamental. Doesn't look like it would be very useful in combat. But it is certainly a blade to behold. As he turns, "Ah, you have arrived."
Yes, I hear you'd sent for me, something about a Quagoth.
A series of them, actually. Something has them scurrying beneath the city. Well, beneath the catacombs at the very least. I felt the presence of life moving towards us. I went down to check, and there they were. A huddled tribe of Kuagoth. Very easy to dispatch. They will not be making their way to the surface, at least not through this juncture. What has me more intrigued is that their species is not exactly known to be migratory.
That's what I was thinking. They mostly stick to areas in the Underdark.
Yes, they're a hunting-gathering sort.
Which leads me to believe that something is either drawing them here or chasing them out of their homes.
Precisely. I thought I would inform you of their incursion, so that you may
I
take the
appreciate them.
proper protocols in handling them.
I appreciate that. You've been quite the boon here.
I have simply done her will. He says as he kind of like turns and looks to a ornate ebony statue of a beautiful full-bodied woman with a skull for a head. As he kind of like tips his head in a kind of bowing motion towards it.
Wolfgang will observe this for a moment and observe him.
After a few moments of religious insight, it seems like kind of a brief prayer of silence to himself. He will raise his head back up and turn to you. If you wish, I can provide the location where I last dispatched them.
That would be beneficial.
Of course. And with a wave of his hand, it's hard for your eyes to see down here as he never lights he never lights a torch. He simply relies on his superior dark vision and anybody else's dark vision, or if anybody walks down here with a torch. In the shadows amongst shadows, a smoky map begins to appear, detailing the channels which he traveled through in order to get into these catacombs. I assume you have a good memory for these things. Down in, and he begins to kind of like swipe, and the smoke begins to engorge a bit as the map zooms in. This juncture, right there, is where I encountered the tribe trying to make their way towards these hallowed grounds.
I see.
The Lady Gloria was able to drive off many of them, and I was able to dispatch of many more. But I could still feel their rustling, deeper in those tunnels.
Denier will take out a piece of parchment from his pack. He will cast prestidigitation on it, and overlay an image of the map, which will last for a while. And then once they leave, he's going to take out an ink and quill and trace the map.
Mm.
The guide smirks at that and then waves his hand, and the smoke dissipates and returns to his form. It's very similar to Nara's shadow magic in a lot of ways.
Well, we'll see to it that this problem gets taken care of and that no one needs to go on a permanent trip to the lady's realm sooner than they need to.
When you say nobody needs to go on a permanent trip, his eyes widen for a moment, then you add the sooner than they need to. He goes back to a calm expression and gives a sly smile to that. Of course. All must accept the invitation eventually. And for these
I take it you've...
And for these creatures, I believe their time is sooner than most.
I take it you've been there.
To her realm. I have not made that venture myself, no. The Master has tried to send many of his priests across the line, but none make it back with their minds intact, I'm afraid. Only one ever made it back truly with his mind intact, but he has not been heard from in some time.
I take it that's the one you don't talk about.
No, it's the one that associated with you lot. The one who abandoned the Master.
You. Not you.
I understand the distinction, yes.
Okay, good.
Capital U, of course, though.
He was the only one to make it back with his mind intact. What mind he had to remain intact, of course.
Denier glances over towards Wolfgang. Remember, he had a message for Solomon from his mother, but he could never piece what the message was. The return trip messed with him a little bit.
It's a trip not meant for the mortal mind or spirit to take. It's why every creature that the Master pulls back from the embrace of the Mother, most of them are simply without mind.
Go to a place like that, I imagine it keeps a piece of you.
It's meant to keep the whole.
If I may
Does that
ask-
ever...
Go ahead.
Does that ever bother you?
How so?
When people get pulled back like that? Not whole.
It has been a query that I have wondered often. The Master loves none more than his mother, and yet he would defile her realm the way he does.
One could argue the Master loves nothing but his mother.
I do not believe that to be true. He may have differing ways of showing it, but I believe there is a strange kindness in him. One that he is unlike to show many. Your companion, Sister Nara, I believe he has a great fondness for her.
Just Asmo sitting and just talking to Earth, just with this Nara plushie bouncing up and down.
Yeah. I believe he has a great fondness for her. None get away with the same disrespect that she does. And I think it's even beyond the necessity of her relations. But it is not for me to understand the wills of gods. I am merely a devotee.
Wolfgang looks back over at Denier. Oh, yeah, I was just going to say go.
Is it possible, even for a moment, to, how do you say, peacefully talk to somebody on the other side, even if it's but for a moment? Not like what Solomon does.
Of course it is. Speaking to those beyond is one of few holy sacraments that I am able to enact. So long as the right materials are provided.
Are there certain rules or requirements to this particular rite?
It helps if they have not been dead for too long, though it is still possible to speak with those who have been deceased for quite some time if the right requirements are met. As long as they have a physical body or some attachment to the mortal plane.
What if there is no, say, body or only a piece of a body?
Which piece?
He thinks for a moment. Let's say, hypothetically, a skull.
That would be a tricky vessel to work with, but it's better than a femur.
He gives a tilt of the head and a slow nod.
Of course, the other party must be willing and able. I would not do disservice to the spirits by discomforting them.
Oh no. In no way, shape, or form do I ever want to harm or discomfort the dead. They've earned their rest and their time to tell Mother Death their stories.
But yes, I could work with a skull.
Denier looks a little bit deep in thought for the moment, but he gives a gentle nod. I thank you for your assistance.
I am always here to offer guidance to those in search of it. Now, I have presented the business that I had to attend to. Is there anything I can be of further assistance with?
Don't think I had any. I don't think I had anything pressing.
I've already asked the most prominent question on my mind. If I have other questions, I will return.
Very well. Then I will leave your Kylum Diaboli to its hunt.
Wolfgang will nod and he'll look at the statue briefly before giving it sort of a gentle bow.
The guide smiles at that.
Dinir would do the same.
And the guide would return to his meditations.
And Wolfgang would ascend.
Dinir follows after.
Make your way out of the catacombs. Back into the graveyard.
Again. Yeah, it's cold.
Yeah. Da, 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 da. Asmo, after returning the plush of Nara to your quarters, you would find Urf, who would pretty much just be getting off duty in the mid-afternoon. He would see as you approach and stop. He's kind of in his civilian attire at the moment. Urf.
Sorry, you cut out on my end? What was that last bit?
It was Urf.
No, right before the Earth. I heard the Earth. That I heard!
Sorry, what did he say? He's kind of in his civilian attire. He's kind of just leaving the constabulary,
Okay.
the station.
Okay, so
But he notices you approaching. And he gives you a salute.
Alright. Hello. Alright. Are you on your day off right now?
Urf kind of like with his hands let you know that it's his half day.
Appreciate you coming in. Alright, suffice to say, I had a town meeting. And while the drug issue is a problem, and you're right, especially considering how many different ones are floating out there, top priority is as we thought, and as it should be. It's gonna be those boys. Or girls, whoever they are.
He nods.
Nazmo pulls out, again, the report he has. And goes,
The Hammers of God. There has to be a connection to somebody. I appreciate you going to finding over any books you can here, but this one's a hard one. Could be anybody.
He kind of holds up a finger and like reaches behind his back to like a series of paperwork. He flips through some, and then he holds out one with one name underlined, and the crest of the Kench family in the upper corner. The skull rent asunder by a hammer, and then the name underlined is just Kench. Oof.
Well, it does go without saying. If there was going to be any movement of anti-magic users, it was going to stem from loyalists to them, and there were some still left over.
Urf nods.
Problem is, you can't assume anyone from that era. The challenge of this one. Hammers of God, huh? I have an idea. To embolden them, almost. They're playing it safe. The question is, can they play it safe?
Earth nods as he tries to follow your line of thought.
Asmo's trying to smirk here a little bit. I have a couple ideas in my head, essentially, for what could be done, essentially, to lure these guys out. But I kind of want to write it out a little bit more.
Sure.
Just because I have a nugget of an idea here, but it's also, you know me.
In that note, Earth would kind of give motion with a thumb, kind of down the town's main thoroughfare towards the Loxley Tavern and Guild Hall.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I bet they would like to deface that.
He's more shrugging and asking if you wanted to go grab a drink and talk it over.
We can. I guess. You know me, I don't like talking about business in the public space.
Earth nods.
Especially because, and this is true, one of them could be there right now.
Earth nods.
No, that's why this one's more insidious than the drugs, oddly enough. Drugs, we know where they're coming from and why they're done. It's because they're not being provided and people want them. So, therefore, it happens. You know how it is. You know where you come from. You know where I come from.
Nods.
It's a game of just slapping it down if it ever becomes too big. That's the way it is, you know? But this is hatred, and that's different. That's a market gap. This is hate. And this is much more insidious. So, I think the best way of finding out who believes these thoughts is to create a situation where it'd be too tempting not to. But they might see it being a trap. Anyways, so it's gotta look like it's not intentional.
Earth starts to rub his chin.
Mm-hmm. Now, there's the thing. If we're to lure them out, it has to look like it's an opportunity for them. It's the only way they'd stop their bit of hiding and running around and doing all the vandalism and all the hate. It's gotta be too tempting to take the risk. It's gotta be juicy of a target. And that is why I gotta make sure that what we do works. If we get them to overplay their hand when they're not ready, we can completely find out who they are and cut this infection out right now. And I already think I know where it stems from, but I can't assume that until I have proof. It's just the way it is. But let's find the proof before I just look for the direction I want to go.
Earth writes on a little pad that he keeps on him.
Out of character, Asmo thinks it might be. There might be a direct connection to Kench's line and everything in that regard, but he can't prove it until such time as he has evidence, so he's not going to go around accusing anybody.
Earth basically just hands you a sheet of paper asking if, handing you a note, basically asking if there's anything you need him to specifically look into or anybody you need to specifically question.
Who represents the people who were here before the Connolly family took over? Do you remember?
Out of character, essentially. This is me asking you, essentially.
Earth would let you know that he doesn't remember. You actually brought him in. He is one of the fighters from Wild's Edge.
Yeah, I brought him because he's a guy. He's like a sergeant. It's the perfect kind of guy to go get shit done. Essentially, Asmo's asking himself out loud. It's
Whoever was here beforehand, one of them no doubt has a hand in it. I highly doubt the new people moving to town are this is where all the mages are. I don't care for that. What? No, it's the people who were here beforehand. It's stemming from them, but not all of them. One of them.
He lets you know that he'll spend some time at the city clerk's office going through the noble family lines and figuring out if he can find anybody with a tight connection to the Kenches.
And here's how we do this. Here's how we play this, Earth. Okay? Now, I want you to increase the guard by 1 for the area of the town that was not rebuilt. The area of the town that remained after what happened.
He nods.
I want to remain there. If they question why there's extra guards, you can tell them what I believe could be potential, which is due to vandalism. The belief is there might be counter vandalism. So it's imperative that we crack down on all of this. We can put the protection on them, but what it really is more eyes to see what they're doing.
Earth nods and winks.
And this is the thing. We have to play this very carefully because, in the end, I do not want to upset all the people who were in town beforehand because some of them didn't have a hand in this. They didn't. They just simply didn't, so I'm not going to lump them all in with one jackass. But clearly this is all stemming from one jackass, and we're going to find their bare ass and spank it in the middle of town square, so help me God. Thanks, Nara Pushy.
He high fives him.
All right, now we can go get a drink, okay? Now we can go get a drink.
Earth. He kind of slaps you
There
on
we
the
go.
back.
All right, it's good. All right, well said.
All right, Wolfgang and Denier, you'd be returning to town about now.
I don't know.
So many stairs.
I know, right?
Well, what now?
Well, we need to determine when we're going to be dealing with this Quaggoth situation on top of everything else going on.
I could probably send for a team to take care of the Quaggoth situation.
Now, are you going to be sending some of the rookies, or are you going to be sending some of the more seasoned folks due to the fact that there might be something chasing them?
I think I would prefer not to have a... I think I would prefer not to have a group of initiates go down there and probably look to send some neophytes or even full-blown hunters.
By this point in how long you've been running the school here, you do have a number of people among your ranks that would be able to handle, like, if Gloria was able to take care of a number of them on her own, you probably have a few guys, like, and a few squads in general that could probably handle at least 5 or 6 of them at once.
Yeah, Wolfgang would probably send word to the Calandia Bolai about sending a team down there to check and see what the problem is, assess and see if they can take care of it themselves, or if they need to send some more higher-ranking Kylam Diabolai members.
You'd get a little bit of sass from Pogan, but he'd probably under his breath like mutter something about Gloria while throwing together like some teams on the table.
His eyes would narrow slightly at the comment.
If you're looking for squads that do good in caves, he slides forth a few options. Some squads that are made up primarily of dwarves, half elves, anything that can see well in the dark. A few squads mostly made up of those ilk. Some gloom stalkers that you have in your party that are just better equipped for darkness hunting. I believe these 3 squads should be able to handle it, sir.
I see. Very good. Let them know they have some work.
I'll inform them of their contracts, anything that they should know to turn back from.
We think that their sudden advancement moving towards the surface may be due to something chasing them out of their original homes, so I would be on the lookout for other creatures.
Anything to put on the list to look out for?
Would I know of anything that any monsters that would have quaggoths as their primary food source or prey?
Go ahead and give me another nature check with advantage again, just because you're thinking through your bestiary.
That'll be a 18 this time.
It's not so much a problem of figuring out things that might be able to consume them, but more so something that would invade something else's space and drive it out. It could be something as grossly powerful as a purple worm. It could be the fact that since we are talking about the Underdark in your part of the town, it could be something crawling its way up from the maw, which could make it demonic in nature. And of course, being the Underdark, it could just be massive fucking spiders expanding their territory.
Damn Spider Queen.
She's hungry for territory. She's got lots of babies to feed.
I'd say tell them that with how rapid things are and how close to the maw it is, maybe be on the lookout for demonic activity. If it's not, that's a relief, but if it is, then we'll need to know, and I'll have Nara give me a full report once she returns.
Should I tell them to turn back immediately at signs of demonic incursion? Discover and report, or discover and engage? You know how some of them you know how some of them can be. Even if I tell them to just report, some might engage just out of pure gumption.
I do know what that's like.
At the very least, many of them have experience fighting demons in some regards.
And Talia has been teaching them as well.
Aye, sir. But
If it is demonic, have them engage.
he nods. I would err on the side of caution personally, but your order is your order, sir. And he shuffles the papers and stands up. At your leave, my lord.
He nods.
And he clasps his papers and goes about to inform everybody of their new assignment.
I might have to give you a heads up, Wolfgang. The situation up north might be getting nasty.
Also,
We have a potential...
Also,
Go ahead.
let's not do this here.
Of course. To your office, then?
He'll head up to his office.
Junior follows after.
All right, you find your way on the third floor of the Kylum Diaboli. Wolfgang, you have a nice office in the central spire. A beautiful central window that overlooks the courtyard beneath you where the initiates and cadets of the Kylum train, as well as overlooking a good chunk of this center of the city down towards the park with the massive tree growing at its center. You're both alone.
He's starting to lose control.
Ramses?
Yep. Something is getting in and whispering into the ears of the newer demons that's been created. He's been trying his best to keep it under wraps, but a number of them are starting to get out of hand. We might eventually, if things get worse, we might have a demon civil war up there. I've told Ramses that I'd look into it, at least see if I can uncover attacks or incursions via dreams, like what happened with, I believe you said happened in the future. Might be happening here, but up there instead. Ramses also mentioned that whoever stole from the college is apparently looking into plane shifting technology.
Plane shifting.
Multiversal travel. Somebody might be trying to get off of this rock, or try to bring something in.
Or try to take something out.
Mm-hmm.
That tree in the maw. In the future, it was empty, but we knew there was something inside of it.
The body, right?
That's what we think, anyway.
Ramses may be giving me introductions to his generals. And if I can get introductions to his generals, that means I can start. He opens one eye really big, start keeping an eye on his generals, learn about their capabilities, learn about what makes them tick. Should we eventually, for whatever reason, have to defend ourselves against said generals?
I'm not sure I like that, Denier. I already know the capabilities of one of them.
But the others are all unknowns. The only thing that we know is that one of them deals with poison, and one of them can mess with your mind.
That's the one I'm worried about. I know you're no slouch when it comes to those things, Denier, but...
I might
Do
have
you
to
really-
take additional fortifications before that. Not to mention, we're going to have to play nice with Ramses at least a little bit, especially if we want to get access to the north to find the final piece of the artifact.
We've been playing nice for 4 years.
And so far there hasn't been a demon incursion, at least for the most part.
I trust you, Denier. But I don't trust him.
He's given plenty of reason to not. But we're lacking information right now. If we can spot something that might be a problem to us in the future, isn't it worth to deal with it? Wouldn't you rather deal with Ramses than something more chaotic than him?
The devil you know beats the devil you don't.
Exactly. The Bleeding God has been quiet for quite some time.
Well, if you're sure. I just don't know what I'd do if something happened to you.
gives a little bit of a nod.
How does that make Denier Prime feel, hearing that?
Ha ha!
Mm-hmm.
It only increases the fact. It only increases a little bit of the resentment between Prime and Dreamwalker, because basically, Dreamwalker is living the life that he was supposed to have. Prime knows the plan, and it makes him want to enact the plan even more.
So as Denier Prime looks in on this scene and hears that, just in the back of his mind, he just hears... If anything were to happen to you, oh, perish the thought. And here is where we will end today's session.